Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something that's really changing the game for job seekers. AI in hiring.
It really is.
Yeah. So imagine this. You've just hit submit on your job application. Your resume lands in this huge pile, thousands of others maybe.
Right.
And your future, your shot at this job, it isn't decided by a human looking it over, but by an algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the question. Is it one of those predictable systems, like a clear funnel built by recruiters? Or is it this black box AI, the kind even the people who made it don't fully get?
And companies are really banking on its accuracy, aren't they? They swear by it.
Exactly. So which one would you prefer making that call?
Well, the thing is, and this is what jumped out from the sources, it's often not a choice you get to make.
Not really, no.
No, the numbers are pretty staggering. Around 90% of employers are already using some kind of automated system for filtering applicants.
90%, that's almost everyone.
Pretty much. And if you dig a bit deeper, about 48%, nearly half, of hiring managers specifically say they use AI for screening candidates.
Okay. And are they happy with it?
Apparently so. A huge chunk, 75%, claim it actually improves the quality of the candidates they end up seeing.
Wow. Okay, so on the surface, that sounds great, right? Faster hiring, maybe better fits for the roles.
It's efficient, but...
And this is the big but we need to dive into. The sources also point to this, well, growing list of really concerning cases.
The discrimination problem.
Yes, where these black box AIs show clear bias.
Yeah.
And yet, despite these huge red flags, companies, banks, even governments are rolling them out.
Making these massive decisions about people's lives.
Life-altering decisions, exactly.
Yeah. So that's our mission today, really. We want to unpack how these AI hiring tools actually work.
Figure out why they become these black boxes.
Right. Why we can't just look inside and see what they're doing and then look at, what alternatives are out there or what rules are coming in to try and stop us just repeating the same old mistakes.
And explore what this all means for your career and, honestly, way beyond just getting a job.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's zoom out first. Why did automated filtering become, well, not just helpful, but as the sources put it, pretty much inevitable?
Well, you touched on it earlier, the sheer volume.
Yeah, I mean, from experience trying to read hundreds, maybe thousands of resumes, a human just can't do that effectively. It's overwhelming.
It's impossible at scale. But it's not just volume. The sources really hammer home how subjective hiring is when humans do it.
Oh, definitely. We all have biases.
We do, and the studies back it up. One paper, for instance, found 71% of women nominated other women for a job, and 75% of men nominated men.
So basically, people tend to pick people like themselves.
It seems so. And another really interesting one was from France. Recruiters with European-sounding names way more likely to call back applicants with French names.
Okay, that sounds like bias, maybe even discrimination.
Well, here's the nuance the researchers found. All the non-French names got rejected at pretty similar rates. It didn't matter if they sounded African or from another European country.
Huh. So what did they conclude from that?
They suggested it wasn't necessarily straight-up racism, but more like in-group favoritism. Favoring people you perceive as being in your group.
Right, which sounds a lot like that idea of cultural fit we hear so much about.
Exactly. It can be a softer way of saying the same thing, preferring people who seem similar. It's human nature, maybe, but resumes struggle to show that fairly.
Okay, so humans are biased, volumes are huge, enter automation. The first wave was these Applicant Tracking Systems, ATS, right? The white funnel.
Yeah, the more transparent ones, they're basically point systems.
Like you get points for years of experience, maybe more for a PhD, a few for certain skills.
And maybe lose points for typos or big gaps in your work history.
And the recruiting team sets those points, those weights, manually.
Correct. And they're everywhere. Almost all Fortune 500s use them, 70% of large companies, even 20% of smaller ones. And generally, companies seem pretty happy with them. They know how they work.
Predictable. But then AI comes along, and suddenly that point system looks, well, a bit basic.
Borderline idiotic was one phrase used, compared to AI's potential. AI doesn't just add up points. It analyzes things across potentially hundreds of dimensions.
Hundreds. Okay, that's a leap.
It's a huge leap, and that's why there's so much optimism. 60% of recruiters think AI will supercharge things. 74% of hiring managers believe it can do the job really efficiently.
Which brings us right to the core of it.
Yeah.
How do these fancy AI screeners actually work? And why the black box label?
Crucial question. First off, AI isn't just smart out of the box. It has to learn. and it learns from the company's own history.
It's past hiring decisions.
Exactly. It needs tons of data. Old resumes, interview notes, and critically, what happened, who got rejected, who got interviewed, who actually got hired.
And I think you mentioned even data on how well those hires performed later on.
Yeah, sometimes. Did they become top performers? Or were they, let go quickly? All that can feed the machine.
Okay, so turning that data into a working AI. The sources mentioned two main steps, pre-training and fine-tuning.
That's the gist. First, you have pre-training. This is about teaching the model basic language, how English works, what a resume typically looks like.
How does it learn language? It's not reading like us.
No, it needs numbers. This step is called embedding. It translates words into a numerical format. It breaks text into tokens. Think of them roughly as words or word parts.
Okay.
Then it learns relationships, like month and year both relate to time. So it starts grouping words with similar meanings together in this huge multi-dimensional mathematical space.
Multi-dimensional, like beyond the three we live in.
Way beyond. Models like Google's BERT, for example, might place each word in a space with 768 dimensions. We literally can't picture it, but words with similar meanings end up near each other.
Wow. Okay, so that's embedding. What happens next in pre-training?
Then comes transforming. The meaning of a word isn't fixed, right? CEO means something different in founder and CEO versus assistant to the CEO.
Right, context matters.
Exactly. So the model uses complex calculations layers of what are called transformers, using self-attention, to adjust the numerical value of each word based on the words around it.
So it understands the nuances of phrasing.
Precisely. And ultimately, the entire resume gets summarized into a single, complex sequence of numbers that represents its full meaning, context, and all.
How does it check if it's learning correctly during this phase?
It's pretty clever, actually. It uses self-supervision. It might hide a word in a sentence and try to predict what it is based on the context. By doing this millions of times, it adjusts its internal knobs, its parameters, to get better and better at understanding English structure and meaning.
Okay, so that's pre-training. It learns language, then comes fine-tuning.
Right. Now you teach it the specific job, classifying resumes as good or bad for this company or this role.
Using that historical data we talked about.
Exactly. You feed it thousands of real applicant examples, the rejections, the hires who flamed out, and importantly, the ones who became stars.
And the AI uses its numbered summary of each resume to guess the outcome.
It makes a prediction, yeah. Maybe sorting them into likely hire or likely reject boxes initially, and at first it'll be pretty bad at it.
But it learns.
That's the magic of machine learning. It compares its guess to the actual outcome from the history, calculates how wrong it was the loss, and then uses a process called backpropagation.
Which sounds complicated.
It is mathematically. But the essence is, it adjusts all those millions of internal knobs slightly, tweaking the entire system to make a better prediction next time it sees similar data.
It just keeps doing that over and over.
Millions of times, refining itself until it gets really good at predicting who, based on the patterns in the resume data, is likely to be a strong performer, according to the company's past experience.
So you end up with this AI recruiter that understands language nuances and spots patterns maybe humans wouldn't even consciously notice.
That's the promise. Powerful stuff. But this is exactly where the flaws start to become really clear.
Okay, so let's get into those flaws. What's the biggest one?
Problem number one, it learns from the past. If your past hiring involved human bias, conscious or unconscious, the AI learns that bias too.
So it doesn't fix bias, it just automates it.
Or worse, it amplifies it because it applies that bias consistently and at scale.
Thanks. Okay, what else?
Problem two, they can be gamed. Someone could, say, stuff keywords into their resume using white text on a white background, or hide them.
So the AI sees the keywords and boosts the resume.
But a human recruiter scanning it wouldn't see a thing. It messes with the input in a way the system wasn't designed for.
Sneaky. But he said the biggest issue is the black box itself.
Right. Problem three, the true black box nature. Nobody, not even the developer, sometimes fully understands why it makes a specific decision. Those 768 dimensions, the millions of adjusted knobs, the math, it's too complex to truly interpret.
If you can't interpret it.
You can't audit it properly. You can't be sure it's not discriminating in some subtle way you haven't even thought of. The bias becomes invisible.
Which leads us to real-world examples. The Amazon one is pretty notorious, isn't it?
Infamous, yeah. Reuters broke that story in 2019. Amazon built an AI based on 10 years of their hiring data.
And being a tech company, that data was mostly
Mostly men. So the AI taught itself that male candidates were preferable. It actually learned to downgrade resumes that included words like women's, like captain of the women's chess club.
Wow. It wasn't programmed to do that.
No, it figured it out on its own, deep inside the black box, and that system ran for years, potentially filtering out who knows how many qualified women. A huge cautionary tale.
Definitely. And wasn't there another big one with HireVue, the video interview platform?
Yeah, another classic case. HireVue used AI to analyze video interviews. It was trained on recordings of the company's current top performers.
So it looked at facial expressions, tone of voice.
Micro expressions, word choice, vocal qualities, yeah. Comparing candidates against the traits of existing successful employees.
Which sounds like the same problem again.
Oh.
If your current top staff reflects certain biases.
The AI learns to prefer people like them. And think about it. If text is complex, translating video expressions, voice into numbers the AI understands, that's an even more opaque black box.
And that was used a lot.
Over 1 million candidates screened by the time a complaint was filed in 2019.
Now, HireVue made an interesting argument, didn't they? They said their AI was actually less biased than a human interviewer.
They did. And, it's not an entirely unfair point. Humans are biased. We judge accents, appearance, a weak handshake, all sorts of things unconsciously.
True. So maybe the AI, even flawed, is better than flawed humans.
That's the dilemma. But here's the crucial difference highlighted in the sources. With human bias, we can understand it, we can train against it, regulate it, try to counter it. We know why the bias might be happening.
But with the black box.
We don't know why. So if we try to fix it, maybe tell it to ignore gender signals, we might just be papering over the cracks, or worse, creating some new hidden bias we won't detect for years. We can't really get under the hood.
It feels like you're stuck. Okay, so given these serious issues, what are people trying to do about it? Are there solutions?
There are attempts. For tech resumes, some companies try to mitigate bias by stripping out obvious identifiers, names, gendered pronouns, maybe even school names known to correlate with certain demographics before the AI sees the data for training.
So it forces the AI to focus only on skills and experience.
That's the idea. Focus on variables less likely to carry historical bias.
What about checking if an existing model is biased?
There's a common method called the 4/5 rule, or 80% rule. It's an audit technique.
How does that work?
You define different groups of applicants, say by race or gender. You run each group through the AI and calculate the selection rate for each group.
Okay.
Then you compare. If the selection rate for one group, let's say group B, is less than 80%, or 4/5 of the rate for group A, the model is considered to have an adverse impact on group B.
It flags a potential problem.
Exactly. It doesn't tell you why the model is doing it because it's still a black box, but it signals that the outcome is disproportionate and the model probably needs retraining or deeper investigation.
Are there completely different approaches? I read about Pymetrics.
Yeah, Pymetrics takes a different route. Gamification. Candidates play these online neuroscience-based games for about half an hour.
Games. What kind of games?
They test things like pattern recognition, risk tolerance, how you learn, emotional recognition. Then your results profile is compared to profiles of the company's top performers.
Looking for matches in those cognitive and behavioral traits.
Right. Their claim is it's unbiased because it ignores your resume entirely. No name, no gender, no college degree mention. It's just about those underlying traits.
Interesting. Has it been controversial?
Oh, yeah. A lot of pushback because it feels like it removes the human element or devalues traditional qualifications and experience. People find it a bit weird.
I can imagine.
Ah.
What about regulations? Are governments stepping in?
They are, increasingly. New York City has a law now since 2023. If you use an AI tool to screen candidates for jobs in NYC, it must undergo an independent bias audit every year.
An audit? And what happens with the results?
They have to publish the results online. The basic message is no audit, no algorithm.
That sounds pretty strict. What about elsewhere?
The European Union has gone big with its AI Act, adopted in 2024. They've labeled any AI system used for screening or evaluating job applicants as high risk.
High risk. What does that mean in practice?
It triggers a bunch of obligations. Companies have to keep detailed logs of decisions, prove their training data was sound and fair, and this is key. Ensure there's meaningful human oversight, allowing a person to override the AI's decision.
And if they don't comply?
Big fines. Up to 30 million euros or even 6% of their global annual revenue, that gets attention.
Definitely. How does the U.S. compare?
It's patchier. There's guidance out there, the White House's AI Bill of Rights blueprint, statements from the EEOC, but there's no single federal law forcing companies to audit their hiring AI or reveal how it works.
So it's more reliant on companies doing the right thing.
Largely, yes. Or the fear of bad PR if a bias story breaks, like the Amazon one. Right now, in the US, it's not as tightly regulated as in the EU or even NYC.
So it feels like we're putting seatbelts on a car we still can't quite steer, as one source put it.
That's a good way to put it. Audits and fines address the outcomes. But until we can really explain what's happening inside the black box, it's hard to be truly confident.
And this problem, this black box issue, it's not just about hiring, is it?
Not at all. That's maybe the most chilling part. The sources brought up a powerful example from healthcare.
Oh yeah, the hospital risk score.
Exactly. Researchers found this widely used algorithm designed to predict future healthcare costs to identify patients needing extra care. Well, it was effectively letting white patients cut in line.
How? What was it doing wrong?
It used predicted cost as a proxy for sickness. But healthcare costs were lower for black patients, not because they were healthier, but because they faced systemic barriers to accessing care. Less access means lower recorded costs.
So the algorithm thought they were less sick than white patients with the same underlying health issues.
Precisely. The study found a black patient and a white patient with the same risk score were nowhere near equally sick in reality. The black patient was often much sicker.
What was the impact?
It drastically reduced the number of black patients identified for these high-support chronic care programs, cut enrollment from about half down to less than 20%.
Even though they had higher rates of things like high blood pressure and diabetes.
Yes. The algorithm essentially took existing structural inequality in healthcare access, baked it into its calculations, and presented it as an objective measure of risk or efficiency.
That's deeply disturbing and hard to catch, I imagine.
Incredibly hard. It took massive amounts of data and careful analysis to uncover that bias. By then, who knows how many people were negatively impacted by being overlooked for care they needed.
It really shows how these hidden biases in algorithms can have profound real-world consequences.
Absolutely. When they're embedded in complex systems making critical decisions.
So let's try and wrap this up. We've gone through the rise of AI in hiring, why it's appealing, how those complex models work, the embeddings, the transformers.
That's why they become these opaque black boxes.
Right. We've seen the real dangers, like the Amazon and HireVue examples where bias gets baked in and amplified.
And we've looked at the attempts to fix it, bias audits, the 4/5 rule, new regulations in places like NYC and the EU.
But also the limitations, especially compared to addressing human bias. And the chilling example from healthcare showing this problem goes way beyond just jobs.
It touches so many areas where algorithms are making decisions about us.
Which leaves us, and you, with a pretty big final thought to chew on, doesn't it?
I think so. The problem with the black box isn't just about hiring fairness. As these AI systems get woven deeper into critical parts of our lives, healthcare, finance, even justice.
How much can we really trust them?
Exactly. How much faith can we put in their life-altering decisions when we can't fully understand or audit the why behind them? Can we truly ensure fairness when the decision-making process itself is hidden from view?
A critical question, especially as this technology continues to evolve so rapidly. Something important to keep thinking about.
Definitely.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.